This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Every sip of Coca-Cola brings you closer to the excitement of the FIFA World Cup 26. Because nothing compares to the joy. So grab a Coke and drink in the FIFA World Cup 26. No purchase necessary. 13 plus in 50 U.S. states and D.C. with a web-enabled device. Ends March 1st with 8 entry periods. Rules at cokeurl.com/soccer rules.
You're listening to Achtung, Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Achtung, Millwall, Sunday morning. In the wake of yesterday's highly disappointing 3-1 home loss to Portsmouth, Pompey. Joining me by public demand, people have been asking, where has he been? What's happened to Harry? Well, listeners, we've got him here for you now. It's Harry Warren. H, how you doing, mate?
Well, I was doing a lot better when we were discussing me coming on than what I am when we've actually turned up. I mean, I've turned up as late as fucking Millwall did yesterday.
We barely turned up at all yesterday. I had a very strange day yesterday, listeners. I was in the 1885 club, which we'll talk about later on, Harry. But it led to a strange sense of very nice meal and entertainment. I will say thank you to the club. But I found myself feeling rather disconnected from the football. It's a very odd sensation. It wasn't like going to football normally is, where you're emotionally invested. There seems to be a kind of a corporate kind of barrier between you and the action on the field of play. And I think it was reflected in a rather limp performance, to say the least. Down to earth of a bum yesterday, mate, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think we done, we were outthought at TH and outthought
Yeah.
F.
The very same point I've written here: outplayed, outthought, and outfought. TH and F.
I think we played into their hands. I think it was very evident early on that they'd come for a draw. When your keeper's fucking walking it around and Mihailo standing there not knowing whether to press or not, and like, well, normally they pass the ball. What am I doing? I'm standing on this one. I'm like, very, very clear first half. I think we were quite lucky to go in at 0-0.
We were. They had a few chances, didn't they? Yeah.
They did. I think we were also unlucky. Femi put a cross in and it was deflected by their defender, and any other day it goes in, and you kind of know when chances like that don't go in that it's not going to be your
It's
day.
not going to happen. Yeah.
But within it, not going to be your day. Very important. Don't get beat. And I think maybe for the first time, and I'm not going hyperbole, anyone can have a bad day. I think that's probably the first day in a while that Alex Neil has been tactically beaten. I think we were crying out for the changes at half time. And we didn't make any. And then 20 seconds later, we're 1-0 down. And pretty much, I thought we'd lost the game from there. I couldn't see us creating anything. I thought Mihailo was fucking awful.
It was poor, yeah. Wasn't on it at all, was he?
Femi didn't have a good game. The only sort of bright spark was Tom Watson.
Yeah.
But is it Tom Watson? Fucking, I can't remember what it's
Tommy Watson.
Okay, yeah, there we go. So he looked all right. I'm confusing him with fucking Tom Brighton from years ago. I'm getting fucking flashbacks.
that is a confusion.
But yeah, I just thought without being sort of, Millwall melodramatic about it, I just thought, that's been coming. That's a very Millwall trait to, let everyone else around us, which transpired, I've lost before you've kicked off.
Yeah.
Commentary of one, okay, that's fine. and then the results around you go for you, and Mill will get beat as well, and then that's why probably we will be a playoff side, hopefully, but that's probably why we're not close enough to take that step to finish top two and save us all about 180 quid in tickets and about 300 quid in beer. So yeah, it's what it is.
Strange, empty performance in many respects. I mean, first point of conversation, I suppose, Harry, is Patterson in goal, and therefore the dropping of Crocombe. Now, I have no evidence for this at all, but I was wondering whether the thing that's got us this far. You're right, we are due a bad performance. We probably the worst, I think, since pre-Christmas. Didn't we get beat up at Blackburn 2-0? Do I remember? I might be wrong.
Yeah.
And that was a poor performance. And we've had others on occasions through the season. I think the Pompey away actually were pretty poor down there. I think I wonder whether tinkering around with a side destroys the very spirit that's got us this far. I mean, Crocombe, I don't think deserved to be dropped. Harry, how did you see the Patterson versus Crocombe debate? Would you have dropped him for Patterson, Crocombe?
Yeah, I probably would have done.
Would you done? Okay.
Yeah, I think the mistake at Sheffield Wednesday is kind of unacceptable. He made saves at Wrexham. Don't get me wrong, but they're not saves. They're saves. He's very unorthodox, and I think sometimes when you're an unorthodox shot stopper, you make other people panic. And if you're sitting there as an analyst, you're sitting there watching him and going, "Fucking hell, he's made that hard," or he's, he doesn't fill me with confidence. He isn't a David Ford. He isn't a Tony Warner, Max Crocombe, with the greatest of respect. And sometimes, I'd say this about Bart. Bart was underappreciated in the fact that he'd make the ridiculous look easy, but then also make the easy look ridiculous. And some keepers are like that. But
I think we've had a few like it. I mean, funny enough, Fordy was doing some of the pre-match stuff in the restaurant place, and he wasn't without error.
Yeah.
I think all goalkeepers can make errors. You're right about Sheffield Wednesday. He spilled the ball in front of the striker, 1-0 down in a crucial match. But overall, I don't know. I mean, you tell me. Team cohesion rests on predictability and consistency, and a sense that if others are given leeway to make an error or two, that goes across everyone. If you're going to say Max Crocombe should be dropped because of that one error, then we'd be dropping Patterson now, because I'm not sure that some of the goals yesterday were entirely without his fault as well. So I don't know. I'm not sure I would have dropped him. I thought he was okay yesterday, Patterson, but defensively, we looked a bit switched off yesterday, I thought.
Yeah, I think, I don't know what it was. I just think we look a little bit, I don't know, sometimes I know it's going to sound weird. Sometimes when the other team are going to let you have the ball, Caleb Taylor and Jake Cooper are good at what they do, but sometimes they're not, they're not they're not Beckenbauer. They're not going to bring it out.
No.
But teams have kind of worked out that Tristan Kramer is Beckenbauer, and have decided that we can let the right back have it because he's going to.
That's a good comparison you just made.
Well, in modern parlance, is like the fact is that the right back isn't a right back, right? That
No.
we've stumbled across this geezer that clearly is better than us, right? Because if he plays at centre half, what's going to happen to us? We could only sign a right back. Been saying that for years. But if we look at it, teams have worked us out a little bit, and they pushed really high yesterday, and kind of that pinned.
Well, we didn't handle that at all.
Yeah, no. and that pushed them back, and then it's almost like, well, I've got a real thing, and I don't like digging people out, and people are going to turn around and say I've got an agenda thing. I think Camille Negby might be one of the most fucking frustrating Millwall football players of modern times, because we never signed him as the role that he's been playing, and he has done that very well. But the minute he goes on either flank, I just think it's like watching a child play men's football. It's so ridiculous, and he frustrates, and you can't frustrate at the Den. Watch now, because I'm going to point this out. He gives away one fucking clear goal scoring chance every game, like an old school Paul Robinson. You knew that they were brilliant for 89 minutes, but there'd be one thing that they do, and you go, "Fuck me, they should have scored."
Here's the goal.
He's done it 3 or 4 times. He done it at Sheffield Wednesday as well. And he done it at Wrexham. I'm fucking going back through him in my head. He passes to no one and then moans and then does the Jody Morris point of damning Mill Nation.
Bobby Bowery had a point like that. This is going really back a long while now. He had a kind of a circular motion and pointing at other people quality.
And I sit there and I go, how is fucking Camille Negley playing in a centralised position in front of, for instance, Barry Bannon or fucking Derek Mazzucato or fucking, you can name any of the other centre midfielders. We're sitting there and we're crying out to get on the ball. Casper Denor took his goal really well, but but there is got to be a point of there is going to be some natural drop off in terms of fatigue. And I just thought maybe yesterday was maybe we just went into the game not complacent, but we kind of maybe we went in there with we'll play our game. Sometimes we need to maybe with the benefit of hindsight we should have changed to go, okay, then you want to have the ball and you're quite happy to have a draw. Let's have a draw till fucking 60th minute and then we'll try and hit you with bombardment or try and change it a little bit. Because we should just play every game on its merits. Don't fucking worry where we are in the table. Don't worry where anyone else is in the table. Just fucking win the game. And I just thought at half time we didn't look like we were ever in the game. And then
we had a header for, I think Cooper had a clear header on goal, which was straight at the goalkeeper. Which on another day, if it's either side of him, you've got a strong chance of getting something out of that. The Femi cross in the first half. Otherwise, they had a few moments going. There was a shot I remember batted away by Patterson. I'm not digging him out, listeners. I thought he looked as good as Crocombe, to be honest. I don't really see an awful lot of difference between the two goalkeepers in truth, but that may unfold as the games go along. The goal, I actually the kind of people I hate in life, Harry, when you see them at Wembley, the corporates, when they don't come out straight on half time, they're not in their seats. I was in the call. We had a half-time pint lined up. I don't drink at the football, listeners. I don't like to drink because it comes into your voice, especially if you're doing this kind of stuff. And I think it don't sound attractive. So anyway, I'm having a pint at half-time. And once you get settled in, Harry, suddenly I'm aware the football started outside and they got it on the screen. And I've looked up and we're goal down. I thought, fuck. I'm the person I hate. It was a searing moment of self-awareness. So then we all scuttled outside to watch the rest of the game. But I can't really say I didn't see the goal in real life. I've seen it, obviously, on the highlights reel on the club site, and it looks like a complete bit like myself. I was switched off in the bar, and I think maybe Alfie Doughty, Jake Cooper, and to some extent, well, Taylor made valiant efforts to get back for it, but there was like a complete loss of thought in that moment. And was it the 47 scuttled through, and I think it was the 47 Caballero, who I thought was a pretty good player, put us 1-0 down. So yeah, that's my confessional for you listeners. I didn't actually see the goal in real life because I was too busy supping an ale.
To be fair,
let that be a lesson to me, Harry. Let that be a lesson.
No, I don't think it will be. I think it's a lesson to everyone in the entire ground that you can't trust the Millwall catering style to get you a pint in 15 minutes.
Oh no, you can. Forget all that. In the 1885 club, where different levels apply, you pre-order your drinks at half time.
Pre-order.
Yeah. So when you come back from at half time, you scuttle back into the restaurant, which is very, very nice. There was a pint waiting for me. So I'm just sipping it. We're talking. We're getting into conversation. And I became. It dawned on me that a football match that I'd come to watch. This is what I meant about disconnect. It's a very odd experience, but we will come back to that. Anyway, we're 1-0 down through defensive lack of communication. How did you see the first goal, Harry?
I sort of saw it as, how the fuck has that happened? So I was there.
That's me too.
But I was like, what the fuck has gone on there? But yeah, a bit like what you said. It was just a very sort of almost like no one's the minds were still in the dressing room. So I don't know if they've just taken a pasting off Alex Neil, and it's a bit like they're a bit sheepish, like schoolboys that have been told off.
Berated.
Come back into the class a little bit sheepish. It sort of takes them 5 or 7 minutes to go, okay, I'm all right, let's go. But yeah, just to be 1-0 down, and then you 1-0 down, and you think, right, there's got to be a reaction, like there was at Sheffield United. There wasn't.
No, there was no reaction.
The goal itself was fine. But again, you're gonna concede. It's just how you react to, and we're not going to go through the rest of this season winning every game, but you've got to compare. I do mind getting beat. Don't get me fucking wrong. I hate getting beat, but You've got to compete in key moments of games, and to do shit you can't. Right, let's have it right. We want to be a Premier League side. Fucking
Well,
hell. We
we
first mentioned
aspire
the
to
P
it.
word, right?
We aspire
And
to it.
we, you can't do that. Like, I watched 2 games last night, and fucking those kind of teams don't do that. Burnley, who are about to get fucking relegated, Wolves don't do that, and you can't. You can't do that. It's just like it's at that Sunday Park level. If you had said, fucking have a
Absolutely.
chat, Southern Amateur League on a Saturday with me, you don't fucking do that. Or if you do, you get told you're a cunt and you move on. That's
Or
basically
you
how we
lose the
work.
game, which is what happened. I mean, the second goal was again, I thought was a defensive lapse because that was the ball into the middle, if I'm remembering it, and it kind of falls to player from a kind of a nod out, I think, from central under the 6-yard box. But there was like a line of Millwall players between the striker that hit the ball, and it just went through them all into the net. Again, I just thought that looked a bit like we weren't switched on, Harry, and that's 2-0, and look, we're looking very, very up against it at that point, aren't we? From there onwards,
Yeah, and it comes from a throw in. The original breakdown of play
was it a
comes from a
throw?
throw in. Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
throw it's a throw. Kramer goes touch tight. The guy spent a third man run from someone from midfield not tracking the runner. He goes into the space. They pull it back. They score. That's a shit goal. If I'm sitting there as an analyst, I'm going fucking mental.
Yeah.
That will be worked on fucking Monday. That is a shit goal to give away. Not the first time we've done it this season. We used to do it all the time under Gary Rowett. It used to fucking drive me mad. It is one of my most hated fucking goals because it's just because you haven't set up right from a restart. It's
Yeah.
the same as a treat throw-ins, treat anything where it's a dead ball situation, treat them with the same amount of respect as what you do from a free kick or a corner because teams just fucking move you. They will move you. They have the ball. They have a fucking instantaneous to do anything. 9 times out of 10, if you defend it right, you don't do anything. But if one of you doesn't track your man, then you're in. You're into
Yeah.
the space. Someone's got you tend to go man for man. And again, it's 2-0. They're fucking up for it. They've brought a sold out away end. I thought they played some nice football without really do it. I know it's quite flippant to say they didn't really hurt us. They didn't, other than the 3 goals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, I would say the same. I wanted to mention the 27 who I see is it Caballero 27 or Ali? 27 and 47. I thought there were 2 very effective players for them. You're right. They didn't really create much of real danger, but they did enough to get 3 goals. So
Yeah, I also
can't argue with that, can you?
No, but we've managed to get a whole 16 minutes before I'm about to turn around and say the lizard people were fully out yesterday, weren't they? The lizard people, that referee is a fucking cunt. The fucking wannabe bodybuilding cunt and his bald-headed linesman. Everyone talks about fucking what's the little man that we have? I can't remember his fucking name. We never win when he's our referee.
Gavin
Ward, right?
Ward.
This bloke is This bloke is Gavin
Who
Ward.
was it yesterday?
Fucking steroid, fucking riddled, allegedly. I'll put allegedly in there.
I can't find his
Geezer,
name.
who every time we have him as a referee is the most weirdly inconsistent referee other than Gavin Ward in the division. And on another day, I don't think Portsmouth get half the free kick / half the thing, and it's all very one way. It's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. We all know the reason why this bloke's been suddenly given Millwall to referee, and you all know what I'm saying, and we can't prove it. You'll never prove it, but we all know what they really don't want, and because it's a brand, and we will not be good for the brand, right? And there's almost I quite liked it when no one was talking about us, Nick, because when no one's talking about us, them lizard people that only worry about the top 20 don't look at the championship really.
No.
They sort of have a cursory glance at the top 2 and maybe have a look at the playoffs in sort of April. And there suddenly must have been some kind of crisis meeting with fucking Premier League and Sky Sports going,
They're getting close.
they're gaining on us, and we don't want to, people don't want, right? What people who make money like, to quote Noel Gallagher sort of thing, is people to do what they're told and, wear that,
Yeah.
turn
And
up,
play the game.
and
Play the
this,
game.
do this. They
Yeah.
don't want Millwall turning up away from home at 2:00 on a Sunday, pissed up
Singing inappropriate
pissed up and
songs.
pissed up and coked up, singing Keir Starmer's a wanker for 90 minutes live with people eating their Sunday roast. They don't want that, and that's what
No,
they're going to
all around
get.
the globe, all around the globe, they will get that because that's Millwall. For better or for worse, listeners, that's Millwall. Hope Spring.
Can I just point out,
Yeah.
I fully condone the Keir Starmer's a wanker message. Can we have that loud and clear as often as possible? But we've a little bit of politics there for you, ladies and gentlemen. But
Oh dear.
let's have it right. You know, they don't. We've done really well to be where we are, and it's probably a little bit of a reality check, and it's probably, it's not over. Don't get me wrong, because everyone else fucking was as inconsistent as us yesterday and lost, and you sit there and you take stock, and hopefully, because we've lost on a day where other people lose, there's two ways of looking at it. You go, fuck me, that's a mischance to nick points. Or you go, thank fuck, we've lost the week there, everyone else has lost. Let's go again, let's take stock and go, this is what we need to get in the next, 14 games or whatever we've got left. And I know Ipswich have got 2 games in hand. I think it's very difficult. No football fan, we've been there back in the League One days under Neil Harris. You sit there and you go, especially when we've got through to cup semi-finals, cup quarter-finals or whatever that season when we played Spurs, you end up with 3 games spare and you go, oh, we'll win all 3 of them and we'll be fine. And then the reality of that is that everyone's fucking knackered because they played Saturday, Tuesday.
Well, we did look a bit leggy, I thought, at times yesterday.
Yeah,
spirit levels went down. I mean, hope sprang briefly, Harry, with that nice goal by Casper Denor, nicely finished goal, and I thought, well, here we go. Finally, we're going to get the spark of life, coming into a side that looked pretty comatose for the most part that yesterday. But that lasted for 3 minutes. I see 67 minutes was when Portsmouth made it 3-1. A shot from the centre of the box to the bottom corner, following the corners. That's the BBC's report of it.
Achtung, Millwall.
Finished matters for all intents and purposes. They had a chance a few moments before that. I think Patterson made a good save, actually, in fairness to him. Shot on goal, and he batted that over the bar. I mean, they were an injury list as long as some of ours over the course of the season, but I thought they really turned up and they did a good job on us. In truth, yesterday, Harry, sometimes you got to doff your cap at the opponents. I thought they did a job on us.
Yeah, I think maybe selection was a little bit wrong from us, as I said earlier on. I think, very early on, I'm sitting there going, this is a game for Macaulay Langstaff, not to score a goal, but to press.
Just for his energy, enterprise,
and it is what it is. We probably, no one's going to be more critical than Alex Neil, and I'm not going to sit on here. I'd have come on here under previous managers and turned around and gone, fucking should have done this, should have done that. At the end of the day, I can't do that because we are where we are. We're still third.
Well, we're sitting third in the table. Results were favourable overall to us. Wrexham crept into the top 6, but we're still we're third in the table, Harry. That's still some achievement. I know yesterday's performance was poor, but that's where we are. We've got a chance to rectify matters on Wednesday night against Birmingham. I will be in Birdship Corner, listeners, for that one. I won't be in the plush surrounds of the 1885 club.
Do you feel like you being in the 1885 club was directly responsible for yesterday? You feel like the synergy between team and team.
If only worked like
the
that.
Archbishop weren't quite right,
Wouldn't it be good if that's how life worked? Things like that. That was true.
Standing there at your children,
my feral children all around me. No, I mean it was an interesting experience just going on to the 1885 club. The reason we're in there, listeners, I'll let you in on the mystery. There's Barney Ronay, the Guardian journalist, who was very involved in the protest campaign to keep us at the Den, which is 10 years ago now, Harry. It's kind of incredible how time flies, goes very quickly. That was all 10 years ago, onwards from there. And he's doing an article. So they wanted a photo opportunity, and the club also wanted, in fairness, and it was a very nice gesture by Max and by Mark Fairbrother to say thank you for the efforts that we put in at that time. And so we had a nice meal at the 1885 bar yesterday. Really nice setup in there, Harry. I mean, talk about a world away. I don't know if you remember Coldblow Lane. You're probably too young, but it's a world away from Coldblow Lane. I can tell you that much.
I did manage to make Coldblow Lane, and I cried vociferously, and my dad had to bring me home because I was only
quite a few. Quite a few did over the years.
I think it was clearly clearly my self-conscious or the cosmic being going, you really don't want to be here, son. Like, you'll save yourself a lot of tears and heartbreak.
But the food was good, and I would say that to anyone out there listening who's not been in. I mean, I can't remember how much they said the tickets were. They're about 300 quid I believe, for a ticket in the 1885 club, as they call it. But the food wasn't bad. I'm not enough of a gourmet, Harry, to tell you whether it's West End level, but it was pretty good by my standards. And the idea of this all at Cold Blood Lane would have caused a few to cough on the Hurleyman's lager. Cream, mushroom, and chicken vol au vent as a starter. Bruschetta, tomato, basil. Sourdough bread with mint butter, Harry. You like a bit of mint butter, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
Smoked salmon, fresh pear and onion pickle as a starter. I had beef Wellington, which was very nice. And the meat was good, incidentally, listeners. This is not Master Chef, and I am not Greg Wallace, but I can tell you they're
fucking hell. That's pick the other one now.
That's good. And then a dessert of you could have had that or haddock. Not my scene. Beef Wellington was my choice, and then a creme brulee sugar. Halftime mini pie, little meat pie at halftime, and nibbles, seaweed crackers, cheesy twists, and marinated olives. Honestly, the food was great, and I'm going to leave aside the kind of corporate sense of disconnect with the football, because I think that just comes with the turf if you're in that kind of zone. But it was a very nice afternoon, and I want to say, just give a shout out to Barney Ronay, to Mickey Simpson, who was there as well. Al, who was our financial guy that supplied us with so many great documents with British Virgin Islands written all over them, that enabled us to hammer and hammer and hammer at Lewisham Council at the time, and brought us to the point where the club's future is much, much more assured at the Den. I also want to mention Paul Turner, who couldn't be with us yesterday. I know that he's in a difficult position at the moment. I won't go into those details, but I want to give you a shout, Paul, if you're listening to the show, because you were part of it as well. So we've got a few photos on the pitch, stuff like that. So it's a really nice afternoon. Pity about the football, though, Harry. That's the only thing. But the actual event was lovely. And I probably had far too much lager in the end to do anything recording-wise yesterday. Hence was just Harry and myself talking today, listeners. So we'll be back to normal service on Wednesday night versus Birmingham when we need a win. There we are. That was my afternoon. That's how I came to be saying that.
I mean, it sounds lovely. I mean, it's the kind of thing that I think there is an option where your booze is. I'm not too sure, and I think there's an option where you can pay extra that your booze is included in that price.
Yes, like an all-in price. Yes.
Now, that's not a challenge, by the way. I'm not doing this. I'm not employed by the club anymore. So that's one for long-term listeners. Anyway, we won't mention the lionesses.
But as a treat or as a special occasion, Harry, yes, it's pricey, but no more pricey perhaps than going out. And you got the football side of it too. But
what's a ticket nowadays? Probably 30 quid, is it, for a championship?
What, to sit down in the stadium? Yeah, probably about 30 quid, maybe 35. I don't know.
So let's take that out. So it's 270. 270 is not that bad. 270.
No, and the it was a nice atmosphere, and there you get the as is normal in these things. David Ford came in, did a bit of with Aaron actually. Aaron was hosting a bit of pre-match stories and stuff, and there was a shirt being raffled and stuff like that. All the things you'd expect, and you get a pint lined up for you. You can pre-order your drinks for half time, so you can come in and get yourself a pint. I couldn't neck it quick enough. I can't drink it that fast anymore.
Up to Guinness, mate.
Hence me missing the goal. But then you can come back out for post match, and I think it closed at 7 o'clock. That was last orders. They came around about 6:15ish. Get your last orders in, but you could get like 2 in if there were some people who wanted 2. And I think they 3, and they shut the venue at 7. It's nice. I would recommend it for anyone, but it's pricey. But like you've just said there, Harry, probably no more pricey than other similar events elsewhere.
It's probably one of those things when you're 40, 50, 60, go and do it as your birthday.
It's a landmarky thing. Yeah. If you want to do something to mark an occasion of some sort. As if you're a Millwall fan, I can't. And to be honest, even if you're bringing non-Millwall, guests or something, it's a pretty good environment to be in. I mean, I've got to take my hat off, Harry. I mean, the fittings of the restaurant were lovely. Restaurant kind of look and feel in there, and I've been in the 11 bar, I think it's called.
Yeah,
and that's very, very nice. The club have spent some on their infrastructure, you might call it, I suppose, and they were packed. It was packed there yesterday. I know it was a sellout stadium, but we went out through the 11 bar to for these photos, and that was packed, and it's doing good trade, as well as obviously the sellout stadium. So things are going right. We've got to keep our fingers crossed that we carry on this route, because we all joke about the old days and Carvalho Lane, blah, 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 but this is how football is now, Harry. Whether you like it or not, this is corporate football. This is how it works now.
Yes, true.
There's no dodging it. No dodging it, is my point.
But we also need to not do what the club did, best part of 40 years ago, and decide that what we really need at this point is to make the stadium either bigger or, hit the financial self-destruct button. I think, and I will say this as people sit here and now moan about if we went to the Premier League, filling corners and all that idea. Let's not be silly. Maybe put the front 3 rows of seats back in down the sides and at the front. That will save you more tickets, right? Do that before we start talking about filling the corners of the CBL in, because that's money, right? And you've got to accrue that back, and it's not simple. And there's a time. There's a time
you need to be consistently at the top level, Harry.
Yeah.
I mean, to fill in those corners, you're creating more capacity. I don't know how many thousands extra. You might get from 20,000 capacity to, let's say, 25,000, 26. I don't know how many more you get. But you've got to be able to fill that consistently. Now, you could do that if you're consistently in the Premier League. But I think, as you've alluded to, I mean, we're speaking out off air, we're probably in it for a joyride, at least for the initial season. We can't expect survival in the Premier League is a very, very difficult thing for a club of our size to pull off. So will you be filling up those seats on a regular basis? It's a big choice.
And the thing is, as well, is that from an aesthetics, not that aesthetics matter, but they do slightly. I kind of like the idea that it's slowly, over the last 30 years, it's gone from a shiny new stadium to now it's quite
a rusting.
Yeah, but it's quite an odd stadium, isn't it? Because it was the first done after the Taylor report. Some of the foibles of the Kazi's not being really accessible with one door, and all those kind of things. It's great because it is our little, it is our little shit.
It's our little patch of England, isn't it?
Right, and that's fine. But you couldn't, again, saying fill the corners in. Well, I mean, you can only really fill in the CBL to the east and the west. Look, I'm showing my age calling them by their old names there.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
You couldn't fill. You wouldn't be able to go and fill the away end corners in, because there'd be no reason to do that, because all you'd have to do is have a Rorke's Drift version of fucking stewards there every week that you'd have to pay. And again, are you going to do that? Oh, do we need that? Do you need do you need an extra attack point, shall I say, from west and east in a kind of pincer movement?
It's funny you say that. We were talking to Mark Fairbrother, who's they do the rounds and shake hands and all the rest of it. It's a nice bloke, Mark. And we're talking about the away end. Is there ever any prospect of dividing it so you can get some home fans in there? It's not entirely an away bank of fans, And he said, well, they're turning this over in the club's mind, but it's a pricey old thing to do. It isn't straightforward, and it certainly isn't cheap to do it. You've got to relay the whole kind of coward's way business down to the station, and you've got all sorts of things you've got to think about, and maintain safety within the ground. So I don't know. I wouldn't make that my priority, Harry. I'm kind of in agreement with you about filling in the corners, unless we were consistently going to be a top level side, and that's a long way off at the moment. It's becoming a thing you can talk about and think about, but it's not on the immediate horizon. I think I'll probably just leave the ground as it is and look to fill it up with Millwall season ticket holders. Whether that fits the club's plans or not, I don't know.
Well,
tourism is a big thing. There's another subject.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's tourism from clubs as well, which is another subject. But I mean, if you're going to sell the ground to other people to use and make money off that, that's another way of generating revenue, as we all now know. So yes, I would rather, £1 million quid's £1 million quid. £1 million is Femi Aziz. That's all I'd say to people when you start talking about how much money things cost and things. £1 million is arguably what we paid for one of our best players. So, it's not being flippant to say that. It's just it's not on my list of priorities. I know people can't get tickets, and we are starting to get into that realm of people can't
for the
actually
first
go who want
time.
to go.
For the first time ever since the ground was built, Harry, because it was always intended to be this kind of thing. It was intended to buy success in the top flight near it, but also to be a kind of it was a stadium that would take us higher. And at last, with a bit of investment, I've got to take my hat off to Jimmy Belson at the very top of the tree, but also those that have enabled this. And the ground and the facilities are much improved from where it was, even 10 years ago. The whole fan zone thing, if you want to call it that, outside the bars, outside, they're all pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a nice time to be a Millwall fan, eh?
It is. I think there's still there's always stuff you can do better. I mean, we're talking about filling in the corners. I think generally the little bit of space around the outside, around the back, if you're trying to get round to the east side of the ground, the Dockers side,
It's quite narrow.
It's very narrow, and probably you need to buy where they park all them trucks and whatever if you're the club. But obviously, if that's where the station's going, I understand they need space. It's quite a narrow footprint. For you to do it there.
Well, the station will drive the development around the club, the building, and that's going to be a crucial part of it, because you need a decent service serving an estate,
But the other thing is the estate on the right, those businesses there, the turnover, whoever they are, whoever owns that lease, I'm assuming possibly could be CPO, to mention a bad word, but
well, it might be renewal now, because that's part of the deal. That was always on the the whole. It's an area revamp, but it's who gets what out of that area revamp. I mean, still 10 years on, nothing's really happened. So we might still be talking about it in 10 years time.
Yeah, there's been a load of flats built with possibly people that could come to the club season. If there's a load of flats built, and they could probably buy season tickets. It's closer to come to the ground than it is to go to the pub, so people come here because it's nice and warm. But at the end of the day, off the pitch, I think we're doing really well. On the pitch, we're doing really well. There is a synergy between the two for once, and that has been laid down with the greatest deal of respect to probably ever since, realistically, last time we went down to League One, since Holloway, right? Let's have it right. Since Holloway, there's been a couple of missteps. Let's say that Joe Edwards was a misstep, and there's been little bits and pieces.
Stumbles along the way. A bit like me going home on a bus last night, Harry, after a long day.
They've been rectified, and I don't like Nathan Jones, but he did. I know it's an excuse that he used, but you can see why Millwall have been in the Championship for the last 8 years or whatever it is, by staying here. A bit like if you're a Premier League side and you manage to stay past that sort of free.
You stick around. Well, we see that with Crystal Palace now, don't we? I mean, they stuck around, and they may or may not have problems ahead. They're going to lose Glasner now, but we'll see how they work out. But you need to get there and remain there
to get the money, and once you've got the money, you become one of the haves. This is the thing as well. Sometimes it helps, and I don't mean to tell people to how to suck eggs or whatever, but if you listen to other football podcasts, like your Guardian, Football Weekly, and whatever, then they talk about financially in football. Fucking every one of the top 20 in the Premier League. This is even counting Burnley, little Burnley, who played us last season, who got beat by us at the Den last season.
Yeah, they did.
They suddenly, instantaneously, if they could manage to stay up, become one of the biggest 20 spending teams.
You become a global presence.
Because you get that is the prize. Now this is the thing, and people, I don't want to go to the Premier League anyway. None of us want to go and be sanitised. Like, no one wants this to come here and lose the essential feeling of the club. And there's this kind of, and unfortunately, things change, right? And this is what you're kind of where you're at, right? You've gone the 1885 Cup. That 40 years ago was unattainable. Was completely ridiculous.
Obviously beyond the imagination at Cold Blow Lane, Harry. Yeah.
Absolutely right. But now 40 years on, the money that is awash with this, and so it's not even just the fact that if you got there, the money, it's the brand recognition. I know we go with the biggest small club in the world, but you go from being the biggest small club in the world that you are the smallest club of a big club in the world, because you become a big club. You have the rolling sky graphics, and fucking presumably after 9 games we'd be bottom, and we'd go for some mad international manager that we'd all go, what the fuck is he doing here?
Just talking to Mark Fairbrother, he said that one of the things you have to do in the Premier League is expand your media section. That would dig into, I think it was mentioned in the MSC's minutes the other day, they'd have to expand the media zone, because you need a bigger gantry for their cameras and all this kind of stuff. So, it's a different level of football, Harry. I made a wonderful shot the other day. I made a joke of it where someone stuck when we scored against, I think it might have been it was last home game. It was at Sheffield United. Someone stuck a wanker sign in front of the camera like that. You can't see it, listeners, but made a wanker sign in front of the camera. The Premier League won't want wanker signs being made in front of their cameras, so we'd have to expand our media zone. That will also eat into some of the seating around it. So there's all sorts of things you have to do to get into this top table.
Achtung, Millwall.
That table, the sky table that's by the pitch. I can see Gary Neville standing between the away end, like in that little corner.
Can you imagine what he's going to get called?
The corner of the North Bank, that little bit in the corner, and he's going to be standing there, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, when Millwall have got Liverpool at 5:30, because someone thought that was an intelligent decision to let us be on the drink all day before playing Liverpool, right?
And then put them there.
And put them there, because that will be the kind of, it's like the, and it'll be how long can Millwall fans literally, you can't see again, as if it was just sitting there like that for the entire game, trying not to say.
I wouldn't give it very long at all, Harry, because that is the nature of our beast.
But this is, we're being flippant and talking about it, but you start getting giddy, because you're like, this ain't actually that far away. It's not, you look at this. Let's park it. Let's be sensible, right? Let's park the top 2, because I'm kind of, I want us to get there. I really don't. I'm really bored. I'm going to say this, and you're all going to fucking this. I'd be really bored of Wembley. I don't think my fucking heart can take it. I'm 35, and I've been there too much, and I've seen too much heartbreak. And there's people who are older than me that've seen even more heartbreak. We're not built for this, right? But I think maybe that's why the club kind of fails spectacularly before we get there normally, like Blackburn at home, because it's almost like they're doing the NHS and mental health
service
before you get there. But if we did get there, do I fear, like, say it's the top 6 that are there now? Look, we're as good as any one of those teams in there, and it will be on the day what we decide to do. Over 2 legs, I fancy Alex Neil's very hard before yesterday. Very hard to don't concede many goals to beat anyone over 2 legs. What I do fear is a sort of Millwall scumfault scenario of we actually win a semi-final and we almost
self-destruct
and self-destruct at Wembley. And I do fear that could be quite damaging, and as not just to us as a fan base, but the players and the entire club. Not least because I think there is a possibility for pure Millwall rampage moment if we don't go up. I do fear.
We all know what you're talking about.
But look, let's hope it doesn't come to that. Let's
cheered listeners up no end.
Let's hope that we win quite. I mean, wouldn't it be lovely if they ran my fucking words down my throat and won comfortably 3-0 at Wembley, and we're Olaying with 20 minutes to go, and there'd still be a voice in the back of your head going, "Don't fucking Olay. Don't fucking Olay. Why I hate you when we're doing Olays at fucking 3-0 up against Wrexham, and that fucking the camera keeps panning to Ryan Reynolds and fucking Rob McElvey or whatever the fuck his name is, and we're all laughing at them. Wouldn't it be great if we beat Wrexham at Wembley? That's the Hollywood moment.
That's the Hollywood.
That'd be great.
The Hollywood dream, only with the result in reverse. But anyway, we'll see. We've got to get past Wednesday night at home to Birmingham first. So. Fingers crossed for that. Harry, it's been great having you back on the show, mate. I know that there is a demand for your thoughts and views, mate. I get messages what happened to Harry, and here we are.
What happened? What happened to you? Oh, there's nothing really happened to me. I just fucking. I tried to split my time between 3 football clubs, which is Millwall are number
Well,
one.
you're involved with the women's game. Let's just let people know where have you been. What happened to Harry? Well, Harry, you've been involved in the women's games a little bit more than perhaps, especially on the Saturdays a lot. You're with Bowers and Pitsy these days, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm with Bowers and Pitsy. Yeah, it's going well. Like we took over, me and Alex Russell, obviously, who's been on the show, and Millwall
Yeah.
Reporter liaison officer is coach, and
Yeah.
we've gone down there and we took them over. They were going to get relegated, stayed up last season. This year we're having probably arguably the best season in the club's history. We're through to a final. We were in a semi-final, beat last weekend or the weekend before, and we're in another semi-final next weekend. We're doing really well. So it takes over your life, football, right? And it's Wednesdays become hard because Millwall will play every time Millwall play on Wednesday. Wednesdays are training night. You only train once, and then you're like,
Right. So you got to make a choice then, haven't you?
make a
Yeah.
choice. What your heart wants to do is go, fuck that, I want to go Millwall. Unfortunately, you're responsible for these other 22 young women who need to be trained in for your next game. You can't just go,
And they look to you for leadership, Harry, don't they?
leadership. Fucking hell, I don't know about that.
That's what they're looking for, you mate. Leadership.
Yeah, well, that's definitely not my role. My role is purely fucking. I think mine's purely for barbed comments towards opposition and me. I think that's what I'm there. But yeah, it's going all right. I mean, if anyone's an Essex Lion or whatever who wants to come down, please. The women's game. I will turn around and say that if you've got kids and you're struggling financially and whatever, and you want to get out the house, the women's game is good value. I'm not saying just Bowers and Pitsy, but most clubs let the kids in for nothing, and normally it's a fiver. So if you just want to get out the house and get out and about, it's maybe not in the pissing down with rain, but like the entirety of February.
What was it? Warms up as it the last?
Yeah.
Spring's coming.
Maybe go down and watch the Lionesses. I've been nice there. Look, I've been charitable. They don't play at the Den, by the way. It may have been mentioned a couple of times online over the last few weeks. But yeah, it's. Look,
well, they could certainly do. I mean, all joking aside, and I include your own side, but the Lionesses. Let's talk about them. They get double-digit crowds. They don't get many people, and it must be, it's disheartening, I'd imagine. But there's been a big hoo-ha. Like I didn't want to get involved in the whole Lionesses business. I mean, I've never been to watch them, so I can't really speak with any great passion about it. But there was a deal's been done to allow this London City Lionesses to play at the Den. They're playing Chelsea, I think it is, in a Super League match or something.
Yeah.
And an arrangement's been made. And I'd take my hat off to everyone, including the Lionesses and the MSC and the club. Errors were made in communication. It's now been sorted out, and the deal's been done where the Lionesses will benefit. And I think they're happy. And I think in any dispute, Harry, if you finish up with the person most concerned happy, then it starts and finishes with that. Really, everything else I think is just noise and people, trying to make points for no great positivity, really. But basically, I think the Lionesses will get to play at the Den, so it'd be a good fixture for Bowers to play at the Den.
I mean, the Lionesses. The Lionesses have played at the Den before. I'll be honest, and no one turned up. They got dicked by Fulham. Quite comfortably, which isn't.
Well, this is another problem. Let's be honest. I've never been, so like I said.
I'll be honest, right? They're a tier 5 side, so in theory, there's WSL, which is where Chelsea play, and London City Lionesses. Championship. Then there is a National League, which is a North and South, and then there's the National League, which is tier 4. The money starts coming in at tier 4, but unfortunately, due to the success of the England Lionesses, the pyramid is a bit fucked, for lack of a better word, and there are now teams in the London region of tier 5 and now in the Essex region, which is where Bowers played. Millwall and Bowers are the same, but we're in 2 different regionalised leagues to try to help financially these teams travel around the country. I mean, for instance, Bowers and Pitsy, we're based in Essex, obviously, as the name suggests, and our furthest away travel is to go to Wroxham, which is in Norwich, and we have 2 teams.
I was going to say, yes, Norfolk, isn't it? Yeah, Wroxham,
yeah, right. So there's 2 hours of travelling backwards and forwards, and we don't have the budget. We have a budget. So Bowers and Pitsy, I have a budget to work within, and there are what's the right word? There are bonuses paid to players, and that's fine. But Millwall don't do that because Millwall are not run by Millwall Football Club. They are run by Millwall Community Trust, and they
Yeah, I think that's a thing that many people don't understand. It's a community trust setup, isn't it?
And they have been run by that since the breakaway. There are many more people that understand stuff that happened around the breakaway than I do. I only know from the time of my short time of working for the club, of how that affects you directly, and that affects you in recruitment, that affects you in being able to retain your players, that affects you in being able to provide stuff for your players. You're asking them to do, especially with Millwall, and I will say this, compared to Bowers, no one will fucking know who Bowers and Pitsy are. With the greatest deal of respect to the club that I work for, we are a non-league men's side with a women's side who are arguably equally, if not more.
But to know the name, you'd need to be a slight football nerd to have heard of Bowers and Pitsy.
Absolutely. Whereas Millwall Football Club are Millwall Football Club, and they play in the same
renowned around the globe. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That is that. So, but they train twice a week and play on Sundays. Now, you're asking if you're asking your girls to give up 2 hours on a Monday, 2 hours on a Wednesday, and two, for instance, we turn up our girls turn up 2 hours before a 3 o'clock fixture. That's the time they have to be there. So you're asking for the 2 o'clock plus the game and to stay as part of our, to stay for a drink after the game. So you're losing a Sunday afternoon. You're losing from 2 till 6 minimum, right? That's for a home game, let alone travel. I don't know what the Lionesses do now, but let's say they do something similar. So you're asking really these girls to give up sort of 12 hours a week across 3 days to travel for no money. And there are teams in that league. I know Dartford pay. I know Ebbsfleet used to pay. They don't anymore. They budget thing. So this is where the slight problem comes, because I think, yes, I agree with the Lionesses, London City Lionesses making the club money. Now, we're not talking, this is also the other thing. I'm not talking about millions of pounds here. And I'm not really talking about multiple thousands of pounds. We're talking between 20 and 100 grand would probably make a fucking massive difference in what you would achieve. Now, if you do that, what's the repay? What's the repay on the other side for the club? If the club are going to give 100 grand away, they don't want to give 100 grand away. So would they have to bring it back? Would they have to bring it back in house because they can't give it to a charitable organisation? There are probably loads of legal things behind the scenes for what the problem is for Millwall compared to what the problem would be for me down at Bowers. So look, I'll be totally honest. From my point of view, I don't think the Lionesses will ever achieve anything if they are under the MCT banner. That's not a knock at anyone who works for Millwall, and that's not a knock for anyone who works at the Lionesses or anyone who works at the MCT, because I'm not in it every day, so I can't turn around and go what is happening and what isn't happening. But what I can turn around and say is that if you generally are that outraged and you're online running your mouth about things that you maybe don't understand and you haven't been to a game, I would suggest that you either don't know about the pyramid or don't know about the intricacies of what that actually is. And I think it's unfair on those people, because those, it's not fair on the players. And I know people are saying, well, what does it mean to our players not play at Colbo Lane? Look, it's very difficult in women's football. There are haves and have-nots like there are in men's football, but the haves and have-nots, the actual money involved is it's completely, we're not talking 200 grand, we're talking like 2 grand, right? And
right.
This is
the
the
numbers
level.
are dramatically smaller, aren't they? Yeah.
Absolutely. So look, it's and the club, the club was the first. The travesty is, and this is the thing, the Lionesses were very successful and were the first team to have a women's team, and
from the 80s, yeah.
And obviously there are people like Jeff Burnage and there's been previous people that have run the club, and Hope Powell. There's names, you can go through the names, and they're in the Hall of Fame. And I say this, I say this as a Millwall fan. It is sad to see where the club is. It's sad to see where the Lionesses are. But my point is why I didn't want to run my mouth on it is because it couldn't be taken into 140 character tweet of all my feelings. My feelings is if the club is serious about the Lionesses being successful, it can't be in the MCT. Again, that is the bottom line, because of the intricacies of running a charitable organisation. And but then from the club's point of view, is there a demand from us, from fans, to try to support the Lionesses? So if they were to take it all back in house and do everything that I've just mentioned and actually have a go into the National League, are they going to be supported? Well, it's a bit stick for me. That bit's a bit stick and carrot. You'll get more people turn up if they're successful. To be successful, you need more people to turn up, or you need to bankroll it at a loss till they can sustain the two. If you got to
I
the
can see a big problem there, can't you? This bank rolling at the lost part, isn't it?
exactly.
Let's
So
be honest.
it's a financial decision, and that is where the club's been in a quandary probably since London City Lionesses existed, right? And I can't go over that because I wasn't involved at that time, and I don't know all the intricacies of that. But from someone that's in the women's game, Tier 5 to get promoted to Tier 4, Tier 5's fine, and you could probably pay at Tier 5. But the jump at Tier 4 is so Tier 4. There are teams in that southeastern Tier 4 where the journeys are only maybe an hour and a half. But if you got promoted again to Tier 3, which is basically League One, you're going from there's teams at the moment. Billericay play in that league. They're bottom. They haven't won a game all season. They're conceding an average of 8 goals a game because they have had their funding removed and have made it very difficult. They've got a very young side. They're travelling to Plymouth, Exeter, Cardiff, and getting bumped every week, fucking by 6, 7, 8, and that's off to them for going there, right? But this is football. Football is ruthless.
Yeah,
but that's the problem. If you don't, that's what I suppose. Playing devil's advocate, the club is very concerned about. If they don't do it properly, if you don't do it properly and you take it in house, you're then responsible for that. You'd have to carry the can for them getting beaten 8-0 every week. You know what I mean? I can't, from the club's point of view, there are not many positives to it unless you get to the championship. You've got to go through all of the pain to get to the top level, and then there's no guarantee that you are going to do well. The reason London City Lionesses need the Den is because the 4 teams that are really well supported, and they are the 4 massive teams in the women's game. They are the teams that the England Lionesses pay for. That's Arsenal, that's Chelsea, that's Manchester United, that's Man City. These are the teams that they need the Den for because they take crowds. They have 3,000, 4,000. The Emirates holds whatever it holds, 80,000, and they get
something like that,
70,000 for now 4 games. But they don't use it all the time. There's this kind of facade in the media that the women's game is perfectly fine and it's doing really well and it's thriving. And to some extent it is. At the very top level it is. But there are slower underhand shit that is coming down the line that will affect people like Bowers and Pitts. It will affect the Lionesses in their current guise, i.e. last night, Chatham Town were on the telly and TNT Sports. They're a Tier 4 side. They got through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. But their plans are coming to change the way how the Women's FA Cup is done to stop little teams, like littler teams than Chatham, having the opportunity to get there. And there are
the very essence of the FA Cup,
absolutely.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So there are problems coming for the women's game that probably are equally as dramatic as the men's game. The same people run both, believe it or not, and they are all interested in the same thing, and that is money, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the crux of why the Lionesses are in the situation they are, and that's probably a fine point to leave my rant. But
I think I was just going to say that's probably a good moment to say thank you to Harry. Interesting conversation. Thanks. The women's game is not something that touches me very much, so it's interesting to hear your take on it, Harry. Good to have you back on the show, mate. Like I said earlier on, people will have been asking, well, now you know where Harry's been, listeners.
Feel free to tweet me and tell me you want me back. I am nothing but a slave to public demand, obviously. I can tell your people to talk to my people. It'll be fine.
Absolutely. Harry Warren, big thank you. We'll be back, listeners, after the Birmingham game, won't we? Till then, from me, Nick Hart, and from Harry Warren, it's Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Come on, you Lions.
Achtung, Millwall.
Who do you want to watch?